Hey,
Hey, bro. Can you
brother,
hear me all
man.
right?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes.
Cool. Kofi, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's my
How
pleasure.
how you doing, man?
I am good. I'm very, very good.
Good, good, good.
And how are you guys? How is everyone?
Yeah, man, we are doing well here. We're just enjoying week one. We saved the best till last. Don't tell the others we said this. Um, this week, and emphasis on creativity, and we're just excited to get into this today. So why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, like your title, what you're up to at the moment.
So my general background is kind of art and design generally. At some point within the last like 15 years, I transitioned into film.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had a love for it, but I studied film some time ago and got a qualification in film, and then eventually transitioned into a role that I'm in at the moment, which is in my day job. I edit content and produce content for the church at the moment. But in my personal stuff, I do stuff with film anyway. So I'm constantly around media, constantly around design. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah,
That's basically what I do. Constantly around creativity. I just create a pool of creativity around me and just swim in it.
yeah.
That's my happy place. So
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. And coming from obviously a strong cultural what's your in fact let me not tell us a bit about your background, where you're coming from
Okay.
culturally, heritage wise.
Okay, so I was born in Aguna, which is a town in Ghana in the Ashanti region, and that's where my parents come from. Also, mum and dad. So I came to the UK when I was about 7, primarily because my dad was studying in, I think it was Thames Valley University at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
So he studied accounting, subsequently became an auditor.
Wow.
And my mum is a nurse, but I took more of a I was drawing at church. So I'm a church boy at heart. So I was drawing pictures at a very early age, and everybody kind of knew what was going to happen. I was going to, get into that. So art was my favorite class at school.
Yeah.
And then, so culturally, I didn't really tap into it too much while being here. I was kind of trying to integrate, because when I came here, I didn't speak English.
Right.
So the first school I went to was a language school.
Wow.
It was called Thomas Gray in Slough. That's where we started out. We started out in Slough. So, and I think that's where I've primarily kind of got into the language, got into English. And then after, I think when I first kind of got into my heritage, which was the kind of Ghanaian culture and the Ashanti culture, was when I think I was about 15 or so, when we went back to Ghana as a family.
Right.
And we went to the museum it was a library. It was a Kumasi library. And I discovered the Adinkra symbols. And that basically blew my mind, because before then I wasn't kind of exposed to any of that kind of like the artistic or iconographic elements of the culture. So once I saw them, it was all over. So I was just kind of like, I just went in, of design. I incorporated in everything I did. I just learned about them and what they were and why they existed and their history and all that stuff. So I kind of spazzed out on it for some time, and I haven't really recovered, to be honest. So I'm still kind of like obsessive about it and stuff. So
Love it.
That's a little bit of my background.
Cool. No, perfect. So there's a few things there that takes this in a nice direction. Firstly, your dad was an accountant, or a qualified accountant. Your mother was a nurse working in, I guess, the medical field. How was that first? I know you said they always knew you were bound for the creative industry or creative space. Was it always accepted, or was there encouragement to go down a more conventional route?
I think my parents were quite good with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they've never really pushed me towards that. I know my dad had kind of aspirations of us kind of following in similar footsteps, doing stuff, other stuff. But for me,
yeah,
I think once they kind of understood that this is what I wanted to do, there wasn't really a lot of like pushback. And I think most of my siblings kind of ended up doing things they want to do eventually. I think there's definitely pushback. They're African parents. They're gonna, you know, suggest you be a doctor or accountant, you know, a lawyer. That's just you know, it comes with the territory. But I think once kind of we decided that these were the areas that we wanted to go into, we were kind of left to it. I definitely went into that direction, and I didn't get particular support in it, but I wasn't hindered in any way.
Yeah.
And I felt comfortable with that. I felt like, because a lot of friends and people I knew, they were actively discouraged, so I felt quite fortunate in that respect.
No, amazing. So we've got a question already. Someone's asking about the Adinkra symbols. So, you know, I mean, I thought we'd get into this later, but these people can't wait. They're just asking straight away about this. So tell us a bit about these symbols, this experience that you had, how you encountered them, and what they mean.
So they are like they're a collection of iconographic images that depict every aspect of like Ashanti culture, not just Ashanti, because I discovered that the different tribes have their own different versions. So they're like, for want of a better word, like logos.
Fine.
And they cover everything. So, for example, there's one of my favorites is called Jinyame. So it's usually used in churches, and it represents God.
Right.
So it's used to represent God. So it's our version of the crucifix, for example.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that one is used around churches. You see it all over the place in Ghana in fabric. So Adinkra symbols were developed initially for fabric. So, and they were developed for royalty. So only royalty could wear them in the fabric.
Wow.
So after time, you know, from the royalty came the wealthy, and then it kind of disseminated to the general public. But they're used to this day. There's even new ones being developed, and they're everywhere in Ghana, everywhere. So in clothing, primarily in clothing. So you can see some of them are woven into fabric, but you see them in jewelry, you'll see them on buildings, you'll see them, you know, in car, every aspect, every part of our nation, you see Adinkra symbols, and they vary. So they're used in logos, they're everywhere, but they have so many different, basically it's like a written language. I mean, one guy's even used them to transliterate with written text. So so you basically, you can read tree in Adinkra. So I contacted that guy, and I created my own version of Adinkra symbols as lettering. So
like an alphabet.
Yeah, exactly like an alphabet. So he goes in, he creates he's gone into the numbers, quotation marks, etc. Everything.
So who created the original set, or
it's kind of gone into myth. It's so long ago. It's kind of gone into myth. But earliest kind of like mentions like in I think about 200 years ago, the earliest records were found. There's a King J-Man who was like from the neighboring country. He was captured during a war, and from then when he was kind of being interrogated, he showed these symbols, and the symbols were then adopted. I'm probably kind of screwing up the whole thing, but I think they then disseminated into the culture quite widely. But they've been around for a long time. I think I've seen elements of them like before 200 years ago. I've seen kind of elements in the culture before that, but the earliest kind of modern kind of sightings or records are dating about 200 years.
Wow. So what was it about these specifically that kind of captured you at the age of 15? You've gone home for the first time. What was it about them that captured you?
I think it was a lack of, because, you know, in the UK, there's so much stuff out there, but at the time, there wasn't anything kind of like I can connect with that kind of expressed my culture.
Right.
Because, you know, you run home from school, you watch your He-Mans and your, you know, Thundercats and all of that stuff, and it all got like that cool. And you remember, I'm into art and design and graphics and drawing and stuff, and so there was nothing really I could see that connected with that, kind of resonated with me. So when I saw these symbols, it just kind of opened my eyes to a creative aspects of my own culture. That thing that people were drawing stuff, people were kind of creating abstract representations of the world in which they lived in, and this went back, you know, literally hundreds of years. And I was like, what? Like, I literally asked my dad, where was all this stuff? Like, what's going on? Like, I was just completely overwhelmed. And that wasn't just that. There was other symbols as well. So another thing that I found was the stools. So in Ghana, stools are very important. So kings and like they kind of represent coats of arms. So each major house has their stool, and in the stool there is a figurative representation of the Adinkra symbol. So sometimes you'll see the Jenyame sign, but done in a different way, and it will be in the center of the stool. So the stool was a huge part of it. But in this book that I kind of photocopied, they had the different stools and the different meanings of each stool and stuff like that. So I got into all of that.
When you say a stool, do you mean like a throne type of seat?
Yeah, it's like a chair. So it said that, you know, the Ashanti, the spirit of the Ashanti nation is the golden stool. So that was, there was a stool made out of solid gold, and that was like the spirit of the Ashanti culture, like the nation. So, and there's stories surrounding that, which I will not go into. That we'll be talking all day, but it just fascinated me at that age, and I just dived into it. It's just something I love. So yeah, it's just stayed with me since.
Great, I love it. And have you ever? So since 15, and you know, you've gone through all of that. You studied. I guess did you study art, media? What did you study?
So when I went to college, I studied general art and design. So that was everything. That was ceramics, sculpture, fashion, fine art, 3D design. Like, you know, I was fully printmaking, like everything. So I was like in my element. To be honest, I'm still trying to recreate that time now, like, because it was just like you have this creative energy, but there's so many mediums by which you can express yourself in, you know. So it was just a great, and you had tutors kind of giving you technique and knowledge in each field. And then you had facilities where you could go and that technicians could help you with each field, so you can fully express yourself in a more competent way. It was just an amazing place to be. I loved college.
Loved that. Yeah. Amazing. Bobby's here telling us, tell the stories, he's saying. Tell the stories. He wants to hear the stories. All right, we'll go back there in a bit. Some of them, again, the stories of, I guess, the rich culture that, you know, really has birthed you, you know. So you studied all, I guess, the whole field, the whole spectrum, really. And from there, did you always manage to find a job in the field? Like, have you always worked within the industry? Or
Fortunately,
did you ever find yourself in, you know, Tesco? Like, no, I worked in Sainsbury's for a bit. Did you ever find yourself in a supermarket, or, you know?
And you do, like, there's no way you could, like, initially when I was in, because my journey, so I did college, and then I was accepted at uni doing industrial design. So I did that. After that, I think towards the end, I entered into a competition to design a logo for my local authority. They had like a youth center. So I designed a logo for them in the competition, won the competition, was offered a job working as their kind of like media, so print producer kind of thing, marketing, advertising, graphics, and all that kind of stuff. So fortunately within that, I was trained up. You know, that's my first introduction to the Apple Mac. They
Wow.
got me a Mac. They got me a trainer, so I learned how to use the Mac.
Wow.
And while I was there was an enterprise center there, and I hooked up with the enterprise center and incubated my first business that I started. So that was, and I hooked up with a friend from uni and set up a company called Ant Media.
All right. What was that about?
So Ant Media was basically, we were doing graphic design for all the local businesses. And we did even a school logo in a local school that came to us. So it was really great. We then moved, when I left there, we moved, we got offices in Reading, and we did that for a while. And then we had creative differences with my business partner and I.
Creative differences, I like
creative
that.
differences, yeah. So that was the first time. After that, I kind of like, we shut up shop. I moved back home to Slough. No, actually, I was still at home. I think I was still at home once I say it. I went back to Slough and I started again, and that's when I got my first. No, it was my second job. My first job was a cleaning job in the trading estate. My second kind of like civilian job was working in Harvey's.
Wow.
Harvey's Furniture.
Oh, Harvey's Furniture.
Furniture, yeah. Harvey's selling sofas and beds. I was a really good bed salesman, I have to say. I could sell you a meat bed. Pocket sprung mattress. Yes, man.
Love it.
So that yeah. So you're inevitably in between your kind of goals. You will have to do, or most people have to do kind of all kinds of jobs. But I was always scheming and plotting in these jobs. You know, I wasn't going to sit there and wait. And I think at the time, how I got out was that I got 2 clients. So one client was a charity, and another client was advertising company, and I was a retainer for them. So 2 days a week. No, it's 4 days a week I worked. So 2 days a week for one company, 2 days a week for another company. And I was able to then to cover my wage.
Right.
And then I left.
Gotcha. Clever. Very clever.
Yeah, I left Harvey's. Yes.
So listen, so who taught you the business acumen? Because it's one thing to be creatively inclined and creatively skilled and, you know, have all of that. It's a whole nother thing to talk about setting up your own company, getting offices here and there, then retainer. Like, who taught you all of that stuff?
It was trial and error. It's trial and error. No one taught me, like, because my first inkling into business aspect was that I was shocked that people were going to pay me for drawings, first of all.
Wow, yeah.
Just shocked, like, oh, someone needed, I think my first jobs were like, oh, I need a flyer or a poster. And I was like, okay, I'll do one. And you did one, and then they gave you like 50 quid for it. And you went, what? 50 quid? So you give me money? Okay, so it means I could actually make a living out of this stuff.
Wow.
And that was like an amazing feeling, got money for it. So I was thinking, okay, how do I keep doing this so that I can make more money from it? So it was just a trial and error. So I started up, I was doing flyers for everybody, like my church, this place, that person. And I was known for doing it. I started doing like covers for albums and stuff like that. I even did like portraits. So I remember I got like my first digital camera was like a Kodak camera, one of their first. It had 3 megapixels. I'm telling you, I was cooking on gas. 3 megapixels, and I took this camera, and I must have made like triple the money I paid for it, because it was just like I was doing loads of portraits, and I'd take them back into my computer, and I'd muck around with them, and they'll sell the portraits and stuff I did, and I thought that was going to be my thing.
Yeah.
But we kind of transitioned into something else. So the business aspect is just kind of trial and error. You're just figuring out, because every time you were in those kind of like jobs, I would be thinking, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to kind of get out. But one thing really helped me, I think, really kind of gives me that kind of business, the real business idea. So where I lived, Mars Factory, is Mars. Near where I live, literally smells of chocolate, like in the air, right? I don't know what kind of health and safety violations are going on around here, but it literally smells of chocolate. So So my uncle worked at Mars, and he got me a job, like shift work in Mars factory. So you worked, I think, 3 days, 3 nights on, 3 nights off, something. So I was working there one night, and I hate shift work. I loathe it. But I had to get the money because the money was good. So so I got that way, and they literally gave you a bag of chocolate to take away with you. Like they gave people chocolate to go. It was anyway. So I was working one night. I was really knackered. I was tired, and I was like nodding off at the. I was making revels.
You remember it clearly, boy.
Like raisins and chocolate bits and orangey chocolate bits, all that stuff. So
the toffee ones are the best, by the way.
Yeah, well, there you go. Everybody's got their favorite. You know what I mean? So I was watching these revels go on this production line, just on this conveyor belt. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, and at the time, I remember the induction, they told us that Mars was still a privately owned company. It was still owned by one family.
Wow.
So I was thinking to myself,
wow,
I'm here working all through the night. Wow. And this guy, he's sleeping, right? I'm sure he's sleeping right now.
Yeah.
And he's making money, like sleeping and making money. I was thinking to myself, this is what I need to do. It was my kind of like lightning strike moment. Yeah. It was like, I was saying to myself, I need to be in a situation where when I'm sleeping, money is still being made. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think from that point, I've always been trying to work towards that point where I could create content or products where it would be sold and it would be shifting.
While you sleep.
While I sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when it really hit me.
That's when the light bulb went off. Like, whoa, this is possible.
Yeah.
Wow, zers. Well, this is really interesting because how then have you managed to, I guess some of your dad's accountancy, or I'm sure he was good with money, I'm sure that helped you to, because a lot of the time we can't pursue what we want to pursue because actually, you know, there's we've made bad financial decisions, right? Do you have any kind of tips for us to kind of remain afloat financially so that we can like go into, that's right, Layla, yeah, Slough, that's right, it was in Slough, in the store he worked in.
Slough massive. Slough.
Yeah, so like what kind of, what financial advice would you give, especially when you're trying to make things out, or do you think it's again just figuring it out as you go?
I think trial and the thing is the first of all, don't be afraid of failing, and don't be like, I think my family was good in the sense that, you know, there was always a place for me in the house. Like I could always go back to my house, and you know, my bedroom was there. Like there was always somewhere to fall back to.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that was something that was, I think it was important. And I felt that there was like a safety net, so to speak. But I wasn't really afraid to fail. So I didn't really, like, I was hell-bent on being a designer. Regardless, I was going to be in that field one way or another. Yeah. So I wasn't really kind of scared of, but I would try different things, different ways of trying to, because every kind of industry has their own little way of like making money. And there's so many different ways you can make money in every situation.
Yes.
After uni, I was trained as a industrial designer, product designer. So I was supposed to do like product related furniture. Right. So but I didn't end up in that field. I ended up in graphic design. Yeah. And graphic design was really easy to sell because everyone was selling graphic design. It got to a place where there was templates on, you know, around every corner, so people kind of like didn't want to pay you the money. And I thought at that point, I thought to myself, I better diversify because otherwise, and literally it was my wife that told me, look, this is great, but it's eventually the value of this product is going to go down. Yeah. So you'd have to get something more higher level. That's when she encouraged me to retrain into filmmaking.
Wow. Because
the filmmaking is a more high value product. So, and as an individual,
we got to stop right there. Don't you're giving gems away like it's water out here. Like we need to just hone in on that, because that's a massive point there. So you're saying that you started with one creative skill and then you identified that because this is huge. People pay a lot of money for this education they're about to get here. right? It's all a supply and demand game. So you had a skill which was up here in terms of value, but then as more people kind of came into the field and templates and stuff, the value of that goes down. And because the demand, there's more people given that skill than the demand, so the value goes down. So what your wife suggests is retraining to a higher premium field where the demand, where the supply is less because there's more training involved, and then your value goes up again. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're listening to this. This is massive, and especially at the time that we find ourselves in now, where, you know, yesterday I shared with Rishi or whatever, not the Home Secretary, the money man in the government, talking about creatives, musicians having to retrain. You know, they're going to have to find new jobs. This kind of brings, that's come home quite hard at the moment, but that's a massive point, ladies and gentlemen. Like, just the idea of constantly thinking, how can I make myself and the skills that I offer, even as a creative, how can I make myself even more indispensable, and so that I can keep commanding kind of a high value? Because, and we see it with websites, isn't it? It used to be thousands of pounds to create a website. Now I can go to Squarespace for £20 a month, Wix for £5 a month, and have it. So, great example. So I just had to stop you there to drill that point home, because I think it's a big point. So you retrained, back to the story, you retrained now into film, and how was that journey?
Oh, it was tough. It was really, really tough. So at the time, I'd left the advertising company. I was with them for about 8 years. And I'd left that organization, and I got a job through a friend at the BBC Radio 4 as broadcasting assistant. So I was doing that in the evenings, because that was shift work again, which I hated. But it was money, and it was the BBC. What are you going to do? So so I was working there, and at the same time, in the daytime, I was going to college to doing my degree, like and it was like I was literally leaving work at like in the morning, and then on the train and going to college, and sitting in lectures and doing projects, and then coming home, getting some sleep, and then doing the whole same thing all over again. And it was mad. But luckily at the time, my wife and I decided that we weren't going to have children until we were both kind of established in our field. So that's another thing that's huge. Like, you have to have, if you've got a significant other, the idea of bringing children into a training situation where you're having to go back is a madness. Like, it order of magnitude more difficult and do us for some time before we decided to have kids. So it was really good at that time, but it was tough. There's no way, you know, to kind of, it was a tough thing to do. So yeah.
Now, again, I think you're dropping another gem there, which is this idea of taking risks while you are younger, taking risks while you've got less attachments, less dependence. It seems such an obvious thing, but I think sometimes, you know, when you're young and you just think, you know, I want to get married, or, you know, I want to start a family, which is all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also looking at it from a kind of a calculated perspective of, actually, I want to take risks right now. I want to go for this. I want to shape my career. That was really like, why do you think you're so strategic? Where did this strategic mindset come in, you know?
I have no idea. I think it's just, there's a level of comfort. I always look for that place of comfort, in the sense that this feels right. It's like your gut feeling or something. So, like, I mean, when I was in the graphic design field, and I literally felt like, you know, someone comes to you, I want to fly, and you say like £100, and they're like, oh, kind of like, and they kind of start making noise, and you're thinking, what is this guy going to? And then you see them around the corner, and someone's done a really cool flyer, and they've said, oh, this cost me 50 quid, like, you know, or 25 quid, and you're like, rah, is that how people are going on right now? And you see templates, and you're thinking, I don't feel safe. I just don't feel safe in this field anymore. So that feeling, is the motivator to, like, something's got to change. Like, otherwise I'm gonna be out here and people are just gonna be treating me anyhow. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of motivated me now it was organic. I don't think I sat down and strategized it. But when you see the signs, like, I interpreted the signs
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, like, it's time to move. But it was always within I had like transferable skills within that. It was always within that creative field.
Yes. Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't have to train into like accounting or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
into something completely unrelated. It was still
Yeah.
within that kind of creative bracket. So I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
another thing that we have to think about. Like, you know, even when you're retraining or doing something different, you don't have to kind of go completely out of your comfort zone. Look for things
Interesting.
which have transferable skills which you may
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing. Try different
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you might be surprised that you might find something that's quite lucrative and yet something
Mm-hmm.
that you still enjoy doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's crazy. Yeah, because
so
even
yeah,
you know, at the end of the day, no matter kind of what happens, people the need for people with creative skills is still out there. You may have to look into new places, but I mean that fancy little graph that the government did demonstrating the R rate, someone with a creative ability created that graph. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
I met the lady that does those things. Like I
oh,
literally, there was a friend of mine took me to
wow,
Westminster where they do the little graphics and I had to
wow,
go in the machine and stuff. And I was thinking, right.
wow,
So that's a job that someone does this. Like that's someone's job. You know what I
wow.
mean? Out here. So there's so many like,
That's
put it
amazing.
this way. I think it was either you or someone that said it, and they said like, there's enough money for everybody.
Yeah.
Like there's enough like work, there's enough resources for everybody to eat out here. You don't
Mm,
have to feel, because it's really kind of difficult, especially in these times, to feel creatively free and able. But it's like you have to set your mind like there's forces from coming from the outside, like you
mhm,
know, government. Oh, there's no money. The
mm,
people are losing their jobs. Yeah, these things are real, but there's
mhm,
another reality which exists on top
mm,
of that reality, which is abundance, which is also true.
mm,
There's people eating more now than they did before this thing happened. And one
mhm.
thing that just one guy said that I will never forget, it stuck in my head, and they said that the Chinese word for chaos is also the same word for opportunity.
Wow.
So whenever there's chaos, there is
Wow. There's
opportunity.
opportunity.
So something is going, something that you have to keep that in your mind. So when crazy things are happening, look for opportunities, because that's when people are making the most money. That's when they're expanding themselves. That's when they're growing fully. Because when
Yeah.
things are fixed, you can't really
Yeah.
move. People create
No.
boundaries, borders.
Yeah.
But when things are fluid, anything can
Yeah.
happen. You
Yeah.
know?
No, that is amazing. No, that is so true. That is so good. And I think it's hard. One thing that is difficult is because towards comfort most of the time. When things have been comfortable, we haven't looked for, we haven't made ourselves uncomfortable or looked to change things up. So when an outside force does it, it does feel like a sting. But what we're seeing from your story is actually you've you've kind of evolved so much that it's almost like no matter what happens, like you have the ability to be like, okay, well, I've been here before. Like I've faced adversity before. I faced job uncertainty before. I've faced like not sure what's going to happen before, and I've actually evolved in that. And I think at this time, if everyone watching, I think there is a need to kind of look back at our story and think of times when we have figured it out, and kind of remember that we can kind of figure it out again, even though it's not nice, but we can figure it out again. No, I
Absolutely.
absolutely love that. So you're doing, what are kind of the creative stuff that you're up to right now? Because you're up to so much stuff.
Oh, there's
What,
like
what can you
so
what can you reveal?
I've got my FKOO kind of brand, which is my creative outlet.
Mhm.
So at the moment, I'm externalized. I'm selling my Dinkra badge and my cap. So I've got kind of like a golf cap with my logo on it. I'm selling that, but then that's doing well. It's online. It's doing some good sales.
So hold on.
But
So let's recap. You're rushing again. You're rushing over the Kofi.
oh,
Rushing
okay,
over this. So the Adinkra logos that we spoke about earlier, ladies and gentlemen, Kofi has remixed your own version, which you now
that's
have
right.
right, which you now have used on your own kind of clothing apparel, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
basically, I took these are ancient symbols, and they have so many different meanings, but a lot of people don't know what they are. And for me, I saw that as an opportunity. Like, wow, no one knows. I can be the gateway. Like, I can be the way to introduce them. So I wanted to kind of give them a bit of a, like, because I'm all I love futuristic stuff and sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd give them a kind of a sci-fi makeover. And so I've redesigned some of these symbols in a kind of like super futuristic way, and I'm kind of externalize them through my brand. So the first thing I've done is create these kind of little badges, and you can wear them. And I'm creating these kind of videos to kind of show where they came from and how they're used, and because with the Jenyame sign, it also signifies kind of a level of fearlessness. So I think Jenyame is also when you flip it, it also represents kind of like, except for God, I fear no one. Right. So it's to say that I'm afraid of no one except for only God that can hold me back, kind of thing. And so when you wear this stuff and you're walking on road, it kind of gives you that extra, oomph to feel like, like, and especially because it's coming from your own culture. Like, this is part of you. You're tapping into a real deeper reservoir of kind of power almost. So it kind of, for me, it does that. So if I'm going to anything important, I'll just put my Jenyame symbol on, except for God. You know what I'm saying? So, and it gives you an extra,
show us.
bounce
You got a badge there. You got a badge there. You got a badge there. You can show us, or a hat there. You got one to hand.
I have. You have to wait for a second.
No worries. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Cool. So, all right, perfect. What's the website, or where we can
So the website is fkoo.
Yeah.
.co.uk. fkoo.co.uk.
Damn, you managed to get that domain. UG. All right.
Yeah, fko.co.uk.
I'm gonna put it here, guys, and I'm gonna pin it so that they can so that it stays on the page. Pin comment.
Yeah,
okay,
that's the shop.
Love it.
Yeah.
And so now it brings us kind of full circle back to these symbols, because I think it's interesting that even even maybe before you have decided to kind of use it in this way and kind of share it with people, it kind of has been, in a way, kind of a life force for you and your creativity anyway.
Absolutely. Like, it's I think for me, it's a constant source of like energy, because I'm so curious. I'm still digging. Like, I'm still discovering new things, and I'm still finding things within the symbols, like stories, because they're also connected to the proverbs in my culture as well. There's so many different connections in the culture. So, and I'm seeing so many other things that they're kind of connected to, and I've seen also other people using them in really interesting ways, which inspire me further. So it's just bottomless pool of like inspiration and energy. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever kind of lose that.
No,
but
go on.
But I have to tell you the latest project that I'm working on.
Please, go for it.
I'm very excited. It's going to come out probably within the next month or so.
Wow.
And it's basically a group of four of us came up with this idea for a platform, like, if you can imagine, like Netflix.
Yes.
But for Black children.
Wow.
So that's what we're creating. We have created it. So we're creating a Netflix for Black kids.
Wow.
And so
way.
this project is like, I don't know, it's a dream come true. And it's basically, we basically did some research beforehand, because we were just talking, we were just guys just hanging around, just, shooting the breeze. And we realized that a lot of our insecurities and the things that affected us as a community started off when we were kids, babies, very young. And they were kind of to do with the images that we were exposed to, the things that we absorbed in our communities, and the TV that we watched. So we thought that if we could create content that reflected Black children reflected themselves, it would give them a sense of confidence, you know, and a sense of pride. So literally there is research that says that when kids are exposed to positive reflections of themselves, it enhances their self-esteem and their self-image. You know what I mean? There's real world research that kind of backs this up. This is a real things. And it has the reverse effect when they don't have that, when they're not exposed to positive imagery. So this platform is going to be, it's called Yoma. You can log on to yoma.com at the moment and you can subscribe for early.
How do you spell that?
It's YOMA, yoma.com. YOMA.com. Yoma.com.
Okay, great. Cool.
That's it.
All right. Perfect. Right, yoma.com. I hope. Okay.
So you can sign up for an early kind of like early tester. So we're kind of going through.
I could just tell you now. This is everything. Like this is everything. As someone with 3 children under the age of 6, and you know, homeschoolers, so well connected with kind of other young kids who are, you know, parents especially who are raising their children, kind of schooling their children at home. This is a game changer. Yeah, it's a game changer because I'm 33 years old, and at the moment when I go through Netflix as it is, you know, again maybe triggered this year of everything that is going on, I just can't watch certain shows the way I used to. I just can't watch. If I look at them, I'm like, no, this is basically is propaganda really, because everyone in this show is white, and maybe there's 1 or 2 black characters again, but they are not necessarily admirable characters. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not watching this anymore. Like literally, I'm not watching this anymore. And it's only because I know that, you know, sometimes with Netflix, there's so much out there that you can kind of start to curate your journey through. That's the only reason I haven't cancelled my subscription, to be honest with you, because I'm like, this is just not. And I'm 33, so let alone a child who can start to, you know, what has that done over the years of me watching Saved by the Bell and all these things and not really seeing no representation. And it makes me think just how important a show like Fresh Prince was. Growing up. Do you know what I mean?
Hugely important. Hugely. You know what I mean? So I mean, we're having to have conversations about like racializing nursery rhymes and stuff like that, because we're recreating all this content. We're looking at the African culture, we're looking at the Caribbean culture, we're looking at the other black cultures in the diaspora, the American black experiences, and how we can externalize and create content for because it's preschool, it's for preschool children.
Amazing.
So we're trying to kind of shape content that would appeal. So we've got educational and entertainment content for those, for that specific group. And it's just like that's how I feel every day when I'm working on this stuff. It's like it's just energy, because it's so needed. Like my kids is the same. It's like when I'm testing some of the stuff I've created on them, and when they see it, they just like transfixed to the screen, and they're watching this stuff because they're seeing themselves, they're seeing their culture,
and they love TV already.
And
they love
Dave, it's just a joy. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be, it's just going to, and the great thing about it is that it's not just that, because what we're doing, which is kind of slightly different to your Netflixes or your Disney's or whatever, is that we're empowering the black creative community as well. So if, for example, if you're a writer, or if you're an illustrator, or if you're a voiceover artist, or you can contribute somehow to creating content, we will work with you to develop that content, and you can have rights and royalties. So if your content is like hitting numbers out here, you're going to get represented it's going to be represented in your remuneration, if you know what I mean. So we're working that out so that everybody who wants to create content for these platforms, because we have to make sure the quality is really good. And I'm working with some like creative, like tight creative people. So as part of the team that and it's just, when you have this is this is one thing I've learned from this project. Team is everything. Like, team
Amen to
is
that.
everything. So
Amen.
projects that would take you like months and years to do, if you have the right team, it could take you days.
Wow.
Literally days, because everybody's doing their thing. Like, everybody's pushing it at their level. Everybody's kind of killing it in their field. You know what I mean? So when you get people who are like that my skill is not finance and business. My skill is not like online data and kind of internet. My skill is not kind of like logistics and you know, administration. But when you're working with all these people, and some of these people that can, you know, speak all different languages, like they can speak tech, they can speak creative, they can speak, you know, all that stuff, and they can communicate to you what you need to do to be. It's just a joy. It turns a chore into a joy. So it's all about find the right people, and you can make light work. You can make it a joy instead of a chore.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
this project,
facts.
even whatever happens with this project, I've learned so much for my future projects. It's just changed the way I work completely.
Wow. No, that is absolutely huge. That is very, very exciting. That it's a game changer. What is your biggest aspirations and hopes for it? Like your wildest dreams? What's the big, like, if you the biggest dream you could have for this project? What would it be? Like, what is it?
We take over Africa. Like, we become like the preferred content choice for the continent, the population on the continent and the diaspora. So and also we are also looking into going into other ethnic communities as well. So once we establish and solidify the Black community, we're going to look at other communities that are underserved by their own indigenous content. So that's another thing we're gonna look into. And that's what I mean about. That's what I mean about there's enough for everybody to eat. You just have to, once you get rid of that fear, like turn off the telly firstly, because they're just pumping fear into your brain, like fear, be scared, scary. That's all that, and you can't help it. You can't. As soon as you step out your door and there's people wearing masks and they say stay inside. You go shopping and then people are like, you know, don't touch me, and it's like you're living in like a dystopia. Like, what's going on? But there's some people out here living life.
100%.
And it's all in your mind. A lot of it is in your mind. Obviously, there is a pandemic. No one's doubting that. But if you keep your mind stable and focus on what you're doing and focus on being creative, that energy that they're taking from you in that fear, claim it back and redirect it into something that's productive for yourself, that will feed you and your family and feed your spirit. You know what I mean? Claim it back. Stop giving your energy away to these people. You know what I mean?
Jeez. You're preaching, Kofi. You're preaching. My days. No, this is massive, because creativity and our well-being. I attended an Alpha Monk event actually earlier this week that was looking at just this link between creativity and our well-being, and how important it is. And I think you're so right. Like, if rather than just allowing fear to rule us, if we can just channel some of that, we can get out some of that fear in our creative work, but also
absolutely
it fuels us. You're so correct. That is huge. Even what we're doing with Black Future Month, this is energy giving. I don't really have time to, you know, be stressed, because I'm like, okay, who am I speaking to next? Okay,
you're busy.
What artwork we doing?
You're too busy. I'm just too busy. I'm sorry. Got no time to be stressed. I've got no time to be scared. I'm doing things. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Oh, Kofi, we could talk forever, but I do not want to get cut off, and they cut us off sharply on 1 hour. So let's start to land the plane now. If you could, you kind of did perfectly already. I love kind of where we've ended up. But maybe just give us kind of one final thought, one final thought to us, of anyone who is maybe in this time has thought to put the creative fountain pen down, to put the creative paintbrush down, and just to, you know, just wait until this all blows over or just doesn't know, is just feeling a bit despondent, not feeling very energetic, like what kind of final word can you give to them?
Okay, I'll end with a story. I think a
Yeah.
story that I heard from one of my mentors, and I love this lady, and she's kind of very kind of esoteric, and she's kind of very out there. But she told me this story, and it's just helped me to change the way I see things. So the story is like there's two shoemakers. They're in a country, and they got wife and kids. Both of them have their families, and they decided that their business has dried up where they are, and they want to travel to a faraway land where they can start again. And then when they make success, they can bring their families across, right? So they get tickets, they go onto these ships, and then they travel out, and they get to this land, and when they get there, they discover that nobody's got shoes. No one has shoes out here. There's no shoes. Everyone's up, but they're all barefoot. So one of the shoemakers says, "I'm absolutely ruined. I've, I've, we're done. Like, there's no one's got shoes out there. I'm bankrupt. My business, it's over. Like, I'm done out here." And they kind of like walk off in despondency and like depression. The other one looks at it and says, "I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm the only shoemaker in a place where there's no shoes. Everybody's gonna buy my shoes. Everybody's." And because that story helps me in everything I do. Basically, like there's two ways you can look at situations. Always look at that situation in a way that it benefits you. Like, look for the angle, look for the perspective, look for the opportunity in everything you do.
Wow.
There's opportunity. Like I said, this is a chaotic time. Opportunities are rife. There's more opportunities right now. There's this one guy, he had a business that did like Airbnb, right? And my friend told me he was doing like Airbnb. He was doing making lots of money from Airbnb. Coronavirus hit, devastated his business, right? But he had a side business in that Airbnb that did cleaning. Right. So as soon as coronavirus hit, he converted his cleaning business into a coronavirus cleaning business, and now he's making loads of money again. And I'm like, what? You can't stop this guy. Like, he's just like, what? These are the people I just want to hear about. Like, they don't stop. No, nothing can stop them out here. When you throw lemons at them, they'll make lemon meringue pie like out of it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Oh my days!
Just like you just gotta like, just God has given you everything you need. Like, He's literally poured all kinds of everything into you, and He's just like, go out there and do you. Like, just do you. Be your full self. There's no one can even stop you. Like, just have confidence. And that's part of what we're doing with this platform. Yeah. We're trying to infuse young people with the confidence that they can do anything, and they're not controlled by their environment or the circumstance. Like, you control the circumstance, and you control your environment, and you control your inner self. And once you've got that unlocked, no one can do anything to you, and no one can take anything from you. Like, that's my final words, basically.
Kofi, you have brought the rain, the storm, the fire, all the smoke to this conversation today. And I knew you would, and I'm just so grateful to know you. I'm so thankful for what you continue to do, the creative work you continue to do. And any way I can help you, any way we can share what you're up to with our platform, I will always do so. So just thank you, brother. I honestly cannot wait for this platform. I honestly cannot wait for this platform.
It's gonna hit, and when it hits, I'm gonna let all you guys know, and just let me know what you think. And then also, I want you guys to be creating stuff, like whatever ideas you have with your kids. This is an opportunity to kind of make money from it and just put it and share it with others and your cultural stuff, and whatever comes into your head that you want to do. There's a platform where you can do it and help your kids and kind of just grow. You know what I mean? And we've got to do that for our community. And I have to also say that you have been an ongoing inspiration to me, because I've been blessed enough to see your journey, and I couldn't be prouder of you. Like the things that you've achieved, and I know that the things that you're gonna achieve are gonna overshadow the things that you've already achieved right now. So I'm excited to be a part of your journey, and you know, I'm here, man. I'm here, Luke. I'm here, man.
Yes,
I'm here for you,
yes,
man.
brother.
Whenever.
Brother,
You know what I mean?
I love you, brother. I love you so much. Love the family. Love to everyone. They're going to cut us off in 30 seconds. Thank you so much, Kofi. Again, just thank you for being part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Please do follow Kofi, FKOO, on Instagram, on Facebook, all the platforms. Check out this website. Buy the hat, buy the badge, support, because this is the type of energy we want in our community. Thank you, Kofi, and we'll speak again soon. Blessings, brother. Peace.